Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir, you are audible.
Thank you. So, namaste everyone. My name is Vishnu, and it's quite an easy name to remember actually if you are connected with the Hinduism, mythology of Hinduism, as Vishnu is the name of the god in Hinduism. And as a part of organizer team also from Sri Aurobindo Yoga Mandir, I am a teacher in here in Srimati Aurobindo Vidyalaya also, and I'm studying Buddhism studies in Tribhuvan University as well. So I plan on giving a talk in Buddhism. As in Buddhism, we have a lot of theories as well as philosophy is a great philosophy. But I took a chance to get only a topic of wheel of life and present it here with everyone, as everyone was talking about different kind of educations as well as democratic educations and a lot of things. I heard it from everyone. I was participating in different talks and sessions, and it was really amazing. And as I went by, I thought maybe why don't I give a talk myself too? I get a chance. I won't get a chance like this next time. So I thought of giving a talk myself too, build up some encouragement or motivation to myself too. So I prepared this PowerPoint presentation to show it to you, everybody. What is wheel of life? Uh, if everybody is connected with Buddhism, or if you have heard about Buddhism, and then you should have already heard about wheel of life, or you might have seen the thankas or different paintings of Buddhism. Whenever you go to monastery, Buddhist monastery, you might have seen this picture that you can see in the screen now. In every doors or walls in every monastery, Tibetan monasteries, we can see this picture almost everywhere in Nepal as well as Tibet and different parts of northern part of mountains, also northern part of India also. So it is the painting where uh, we can say that we can get the gist of what Buddhism or what Buddha has taught us throughout his life. And this painting explains us, or this picture explains us about a lot of things: birth and rebirth and cycle of the birth, why we are suffering so much, and everything. So in Sanskrit, the wheel of life, it is known as Bhava Chakra. Bhava plus Chakra, which explains like being in a cycle of rebirth, or being in the cycle, wheel of existence in different word, or samsara. We can call it in by different names, or you have might have heard from different people or the religious teachers or gurus which have explained you, or you have heard from them about this samsara, or the cycle of life, or cycle of existence, of wheel of life, whatever we call it. It is in, if I have to explain it to you, the cycle represents the cycle of birth and rebirth. In Hinduism as well as in Buddhism, we believe in rebirth. And whatever the birth we took now, we will be taking it the rebirth again. In Hinduism, we have it a lot of things we believe. Like it is said that we have to live a life of for 84,000 years or 84,000 lives to get enlightenment. But in Buddhism, as philosophy, Gautam Buddha or Siddhartha Gautama gave this famous teaching, or this profound teaching, that we can get enlightenment in one life. And it was groundbreaking for all over the India, or as well as Nepal, or the northern or southern India, or this whole Asian region, because nobody has thought that we can get enlightened, or we can be the God, or we can be uh, mm, human God, what we call. In a human body, we can get the realization of God. That groundbreaking topic that Buddha gave, or the groundbreaking knowledge that the Buddha gave, which got famous throughout the India. So in the 5th and 6th century BC, as he started this teaching throughout the India, people started following him. After he got enlightenment, he started teaching the people, and everybody started following him. And he gave different knowledge about different topics. And the core topic of him is that he gave like 4 noble truths. There are 4 truths that are eternal truth, that it cannot be diverted or deceived. And the first noble truth he explains us that there is suffering in the world, and it is permanent. That suffering is permanent. Unless you get out of this cycle, wheel of life, suffering is permanent. Whether you become a god, or heavenly beings, or hellish being, or preta, or animals, or humans, or devas, or demigods, whatever you become, you will be having sufferings. He has explained it like that. So, and he also gave that he isn't that pessimistic that he only gives the problems to us. He also showed us the solution for that. He said that suffering can be ended. And he also gave the cause of suffering. What is the suffering, and why and how we are having this suffering? He explained it well also. So in this picture that you can see in the screen, we can see in the core of the picture, as you can go, and let me zoom in for you. In the core of the picture, you can see 4 cycles here. The first cycle here, first cycle, and this one the second cycle, and this one the third cycle, and this one's the fourth cycle. In this fourth cycle, he has explained almost everything about what he has explained us, how we can get rid of this suffering. So, and it is believed that this illustration it is the core teaching of Buddha, given by the Buddha in a nutshell, or in a one pack. You can find all the teaching what Buddha has given us. It also gives the glimpse of what is life and its value. And it clearly explains about the impermanence. What is impermanence? And why are we suffering so much? Why are we fighting? Why are we doing everything out of ourselves if it is impermanence? He also explains that. And he also explains that non-self, or being nothing. He also explains like that. And Buddha never wanted his teaching, whatever he has taught, to be congested, or to be clinged or adhere to a certain tribe or certain language or single nation. He wanted it to be explored throughout the whole world, so that everyone can understand what the suffering is and how we can get rid of this suffering. So Buddha always told, or always asked his disciples that they can go everywhere wherever they go. He says that you have to learn their language, the local language, and then only you explain it in their own language. If you start congesting the knowledge in one part, or one language, or one tribe, or one nation, or when we adhere all these knowledge in one part, then it will be like there will be contradiction among the people. Someone will say that this is my teaching, as we are facing it today. We are facing according to the religion. This is my religion, this is your religion, you have to do this, you have to follow my religion, you have to understand this language to understand this religion. All these activities are having, because of this problem with the language and everything. So Buddha never wanted to be the, never wanted the language or all these kind of barriers to be the problem for the knowledge to be shared. So all this four layered painting, which can be understood by everyone, even illiterate one, everyone who doesn't even know the language itself, they can understand the teaching of Buddha. So he has explained it to the King Bimbisara, and King Bimbisara, he later on gifted this uh, painting to someone other king. Once it is said that the king of Rahasa, he came to Bimbisara with a lot of treasures and jewelries, and he gifted it to him. And later on, Bimbisara was, confused what to give him back or what to gift him back. He has already accepted the gift, and he hasn't got anything to give him back. So the jewelries or the wealth he can give, he already gave it to him. So what can I give? He consulted with the people and started talking about this. And later on, one of the saint, he says that you can give this painting to him, so that it is one of the jewel that cannot be shared with everyone, that cannot be, that is one of the most valuable gift you can give it to someone. So this is how it is believed that uh, King Bimbisara, he was also a disciple of Lord Buddha. He gave it to King of Rahasa. So it is believed that the origin of this painting came out like that. So let's go to the next uh, slide. Here, as in the painting, I can explain that there are a few things we need to understand about this. Like on the core of the painting, as you can go to the center of the painting, you can find three different animals: the pig, rooster, and the snake in the hub of the wheel. And these represents the three poisons, as for the Tibetans, or the followers of Buddhism, they normally tell. Or we can also say that this is kind of defilements that, take problems and that creates problem to the human realm. So the poison of ignorance, attachment, and hatred. And the second layer represents the karma. Whatever we do, that represents the karma, where we go, in which form of life we get born in. So the third layer represents the six realms of samsara, or the six heavens, or six places, six earths. One of them is Deva realm, or the heaven we call it. There is demigod realm, and there is human realm. There is Preta realm. Preta realm means like hungry ghost realms. And there is animal realm. We'll take a birth as animals, or as a hellish realm where everything is terrible. So it is believed that in Buddhism, it is said that there are emotions of 84,000 emotions that we can feel. But congesting everything or collaborating everything, Lord Gautam Buddha, he parted it into six parts, and how our mind works within ourselves. Whenever we feel happy, we are in the Deva realm. In the modern world, as we can say, the world, the Deva world or human world, let's not just go on with that, because the world, we haven't seen if there is a human world. We have human world. We don't know if there is a Deva world or Preta world, or we don't know if there is hell. But we can feel this, all these six realms, all these six worlds in our mind ourselves. So that is how we can explain that. This cycle explains that there are six realms where we are taking birth in this cycle. So, and there's six, the fourth layer, it represents the links of the dependent originations. How we are linked with each other, how we are linked with every particles, how we are linked with every objects, every animals, every persons, every personalities, every people, everything, every terms and conditions that represents us and that connects us with everything. It is like, we connect with every beings, every animals, every plants, every objects within ourselves. we connect it. And everything that happens in the world, it is because of existence, cyclic existence of this and that and this and that. As we can find in different Western theories also, like when there is a cat, there has to be a rat, because while explaining someone to a kid, if we are going to explain it to the kid, we will always say that there is a cat because there is a rat. Cat eats rat. It's kind of like that. So the system of dependent origination, it connects like that. So on the fourth layer, it is the 12 parts or 12 pictures, which explain, it symbolizes a lot of things. We will be explaining it in later part. And there you can find a fierce looking demon form of demon form, who is clutching the cycle with his two hands, with his mouth and his legs. That is what we call the Yama, god of death. And he also represents as the impermanence. His impermanence is everywhere. You cannot just say that I can, get away from Yama, or I can get I can get immortality. We cannot say that, because if until and unless we are inside that cycle which the Yama, the god of death, has clutched inside, we are going to take birth and we are going to die until we get an enlightenment. When we get an enlightenment, we will get rid of this cycle and we will get out of this cycle, and then we will be free from this samsara. And at the top right corner, you can see a picture of Lord Gautam Buddha, who is pointing something to the left side. On the left side, you can see another bodhisattva, as well as the humanoid form of moon, which explains that the liberations. And Buddha here wants to explain us that until you get the liberations, you won't be able to get away from this samsara. So let's go on with every parts individually, and hope we will get to understand what the painting wants to say. So the first part, or the most inner part, or the hub, or the major part of this painting is the core. Here it gives us the idea how the suffering comes. So Gautam Buddha, Lord Buddha, has given us the first truth that in the world there is suffering. And he explains us through this painting how the suffering comes, or how we are having this suffering. So here are three animals, as you can see in the picture in your screen. There is one is in the blue. Normally pigs are not blue, but here is the blue pig that you can see. And there is one snake and there is one rooster, as you can see. So all these three animals, they are biting each other and circulating each other. So the pig symbolizes, the pig here in the picture, it symbolizes ignorance, to live the deluded life, ignorant of Buddhist teachings, ignorant of life, ignorant of true knowledge, ignorant of everything. We are not sure what is good and what is right. Somebody says that this is good, somebody says that this is right. We cannot find it ourselves unless and until we get the teaching of Lord Buddha, or we get the teaching of within ourselves. We get teaching from our soul, or we get, enlightened by ourselves. We won't be understanding what the true knowledge is, what the truth is. So the pig here, it symbolizes the ignorance, or the not knowing the knowledge, what it is to live, what is to do, what are the karma, what karmas are the good, what karmas are the bad. So there is another animal which you can see. There is the snake. From the past, as we knew in the mythological books or everywhere, as we can see, snakes always symbolizes as the symbol of hatred, anger, sneaky, clumsy. We don't say clumsy, but craving, want to defile everyone, it's kind of always snake as considered as that one. So here the depiction of snake in this picture also explains about the hatred, anger, jealousy, about everything what we feel in our life. So here ignorance, out of ignorance we feel angry, out of ignorance we feel jealousy, out of ignorance we are craving, we are grasping everything whatever we can get. So here from the mouth of pig we can find the snake, and from the mouth of snake we can find the rooster. When there is jealousy, when there is anger, there is always the greed, the lust, the craving for something, craving to, grasping to get some everything towards you. You want everything. You see something beautiful, you want that. You find some, beautiful nature, you find something land, or you see something beautiful houses, or whatever you can find, you want that. So that is the feeling that we get from ourselves. So that is the rooster, it expressed here. So it always, our heart, our mind always wants to get the pleasures, always wants to find something, but we are not, nobody is satisfied with what we are craving for. It is like there was one story, it explains it like this. There was one guy who was so hungry, roaming around the jungle. He was traveling throughout the jungle. He couldn't find any villages or anywhere. As he was going throughout the jungle, he thought, he prayed himself a lot that if he could find something to eat. As he was walking by, he come across a big apple tree. The apples were delicious. The full tree was full of apples. It was really good. And he goes to the nearest branch, gets the whatever he can find in the first, whatever he can find with his hand first, and he eats it. And he starts expressing it. You are the best apple I have ever had. You are the best food I have ever had. You are so much better than everything that we can find throughout the world. He eats one, he eats next one, he eats next one. And later on, as he start eating, he finds the other one, oh, it's quite sour. I think I will get the next one. He puts the sour one. Next one, oh, I think it's more ripened. I will get the next one. Oh, it has to be ripened later. So he keeps it. Likewise, after he gets hungry, as he was hungry, that was the best thing for him. But later on, it is like nothing to him. It's starting, you start grasping everything, even though you don't want them. He's full, but he wants to taste everything. He eats half, throws half. It is like this. Human nature is like that. We are more, diverted towards these three animals. We are more diverted to ignorance. We are more diverted to hatred. We are more diverted to jealousy. We are more diverted to craving, grasping. We want everything. We want pleasures. No, it is a thing that we are facing. So the basic core teaching here in this picture, as we can see, it explains us about the cause of suffering, how we are getting the suffering. So the next part of the painting, as we can go, we can see in the painting, the real picture, we can see the next circle. I have parted it in two circles. As you can see, there are two circles here. So half of the circle is white and half of the circle is black. Someone was talking? Excuse me? Okay, I think I will continue. So here in this white part, as you can see, there are people who are doing some good things. Some of them are praying, some of them are helping each other, some of them are doing good thing. So when we have this part, the second part of the circle, or the second part of the cycle, it explains about the karma, how the karma happens, and what karma takes us to where, and what karma takes us to what. So on the white part, there are two circular part. One of them is white, and next one is next half is the black one. So it's every time. Uh, let's not go with the racism, but the white is considered as the good one, and black is considered as the evil one. It always happens like that, and in this picture also it is depicted as likewise. So in the white part, people are doing some good things, or some of them are praying, some of them are doing good things, like some of them playing, singing, doing good things, helping each other. So when you do these kind of things, you will always go towards the heaven. As you can see on the top of that, you can see the God himself, or Lord Buddha, or Bodhisattva, you can see on the top of that. So how we get to the upwards or the higher realms? As I have told you, there are 6 realms that Buddha has explained us. So there are upper realms, upper 3 realms, or higher 3 realms, and lower 3 realms, or 3 worlds. So higher 3 worlds are human world, God or Deva world, or Titan world, or what we call the demigod, Asura world. So in these 3 worlds are considered to be the higher world, and there is animal world, and Preta world, hungry ghost world, and the hell. So these 3 are the lower worlds. So how we get to the upper world, or how we can get to the luxurious part, as we have to say. So we have to renounce killing, instead protect life. We have to protect life, whatever we can get. Like we are doing some kind of defilements also here today. Now also everybody is killing animals and eating the meat, or finding some ways to hate others, or let's not just say that everybody is diverted towards that, but unknowingly, unconsciously, we are tend to do some of the bad things in our life time to time. So we need to renounce all those bad things, so that we can go towards, we can upgrade, or we can get upwards to the higher realms. So how we get to the higher realms? Let's as he explains, we should renounce killing. No killing, even the birds, insect, or whatever we can find, we have to help each other. If you start killing it, it's like everything goes back, it comes to you. So Newton also gave the third law: every action has its reactions. So to renounce killing, and we should not always, we should not be congested towards ourselves. We should be generous. We should give whatever we have. It is said that when you give, your hand will be always on the up. The one who receives, the hand of the receiver is always down. So when you give to the people whatever you have, you are always in the upper realm. So you should give, you should practice the generosity, and you should renounce the sexual misconduct also. Instead, follow the rules of disciplines, and follow the brahmacharya, or you should be self-conscious about all these misconducts and everything. And we should renounce lying also, always telling the truth. Yeah, the truths are always bitter, but they are the best. Bitter, but the best. So we should give up showing discord. We should not go to our friends and start disputing among themselves, and instead we should reconcile everyone. We should make together everyone's. It is the best thing that we can do to help ourselves, to help our soul, or let's not just say the soul, but our heart. It gives us soothing to the heart. And we should always abandon the harsh speech, and instead we should speak pleasantly to everyone. When you talk honestly or softly, or whenever you do that, it always helps you to bring ourselves in a better life. So that is why, talking while taking the words out of mouth, it doesn't cost any money or anything. It maybe it cost only a little bit of energy, nothing more than that. For the energy, we can eat something out. That is the best thing we can do. So we can always speak better to everyone, always think positively, always think better for everyone. That is the best thing we can do, to get ourselves to the higher realms. And being generous is the best part that we can do. That is why Lord Buddha never kept for himself. He said that if I am here, alone and naked, I should go alone and naked. Nobody is going to escort me to heaven or wherever I'm going. There won't be any limousine or anywhere, buses or cars there to escort you from here to somewhere else. It is like we come alone and naked, and we will be going alone and naked. That is the truth of the life. So we always have to, let's just try to be happy towards everyone, reconcile the disputes, be generous, talk good thing, and give up the desires, unwanted desires that we have. So we should put the end to the wrong views. Instead, we should try to find truth, or try to find what is truth in the life, what is truth in the self, what is truth in the beings, what is truth in the objects, what is truth in everything. So we should go on with that. So as you can see in the picture, there is a line that is connected to the demon at the end of at the downwards. As you can see, a demon, blue demon, and he's pulling everyone downwards, as you can see. So this picture explains us that when we have bad karma, the demon, it pulls us to downwards, to the lower realms, to the hell, to the animal world, to the preta world, to the hungry ghost world. So as I have already explained about what are good things and what are bad things, what are good karmas and what are bad karmas, we should always stop killing anything, even humans or plants or anything, whatever. Unwantedly, we shouldn't kill anyone. We shouldn't just spread hatred. Instead, we should spread the love and kindness to everyone. That is the best Lord Buddha has taught us. Be compassionate and kind to everyone. And we should stop stealing, or we should not do the intentionally steal. We should not steal intentionally, or taking what others have, not being satisfied with whatever we have. And we should stop the sexual misconduct, as we can see throughout the world. And as we see it likewise, it seems that humans are the most terrible animals, as we have to say, because not even animals, they do the sexual misconduct or rape cases. We don't hear rape cases from animals, which bigger animals just go on raping to the smaller animals or the child or children's. But we can hear it in the world. It happens to the human world. That is very disappointing. And we should stop lying. We should try to be truth always. We should not be deceiving to anyone. Let's just say whatever there is, it is the truth, and we should express it likewise. And we should always stop harsh words. Harsh words are always, it is bad to us and it is bad to others also. And we should be satisfied with ourselves. If you start craving for everything, it will be disaster for us. Like a drunkard starts drinking, he never gets satisfied with drinking. So this is how we get to the lower realms. So let's go with the 6 realms of rebirth, where we get rebirth. The best that we can get rebirth is the God realm or Deva realm, that as you can see on the top part of the circle. And it is one of the most luxurious part, where everything is available, And on the right side of the god realm, you can see demigod realm or Asura realm or the Asura world. And on the left part, as you can see, human world. These three part, as you can, if you cut it horizontally, directly, as you can have two parts, upper parts and lower parts, and it explains us about the upper three realms, which are considered as the good realms, and lower three realms, which are considered as the bad realms. And let's go on individually with every realms. So the first one, the god realm or the heavenly realm. And here, as you can see in the picture, everything is good in here. In the heavens, being are rewarded for the past good deeds. If you are virtuous, you have merits. If you have a lot of merits, a lot of virtues, a lot of good things, you are transferred into heaven. And it is not the one-way traffic. It is two-way traffic though. If you do bad karmas, you will be coming down to the hell also. It is not that when we do good things, when you get to the heaven, you won't be coming down to hell. In Buddhism, we believe is as a two-way traffic. You know, you can go to hell also, you can come down to heaven. Heaven also, you can go to heaven also, you can come down to hell also. So life in heaven is continual round of pleasure and enjoyment with no suffering, anxiety, or whatever. There isn't any unfulfilled desires. There will be, you know, gods and goddesses. There will be everything, whatever we can find. It is said that someone with good deeds or good merits or virtues only gets to take birth in the heaven realm. And this is one of the problem, that life in heaven is extremely long and extremely beautiful and extremely better. And you don't get the chance to think about yourself that if I am inside the circle or not. If I am inside the cycle of death and rebirth, I'm not. So considerably, heaven realm is better for everyone, but to get out of this cycle, it is not considered to be the best realm though. So, but as you can see, everything is pleasurable, everything is good in heaven, but it is not permanent. Inevitably, if you expend everything, like in bank account, if you expend every money, then you won't have anything to bring out from the ATMs or anything. So it's same thing, is almost something like that. If you have to compare it with our words, it is something like that. If you use every merits and virtues, then you will have to get down to the next realms, lower realms. That is for sure. And so this is it for the Deva realm or heaven realm. And the next one is demigod realm or Asura realm. And in Hinduism and Buddhism, we have this belief that not only gods, there are demigods also, who are not wise as gods or who are not as befitting as gods, but they are lower than gods, but they have this capacity as well, accordingly as the gods or equal to the gods, as we can see in the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and different mythological stories, that it's always the gods and demigods fight with each other, or the Asuras and gods, they fight with each other. Sometimes the Asuras win, sometimes the god wins. So, but here it is that Asuras also, they have got everything, but the arrogance in their mind, the mind of quarrelsome, the mind of defilement, and mind of always fighting, that it doesn't make them good enough to get out of this cycle. So they will always fight with gods or the devas to get the realm, to get the, you know, heaven. But it is always that they will be always, you know, deceived by the gods, or they will be always not capable to get the heaven world. So the next, here in the picture, we can see there is a tree in your left side. As you can see, there is a tree that is going upwards, and in these clouds we can see the demigods fighting with the gods. They are pointing arrows to everyone, and there is Bodhisattva or Buddha who also served, and perhaps he wants to say that, and let's not just quarrel, let get out of this cycle so that you can be enlightened yourself also. So next realm, the higher realm, is human realm. Human realm, or Manushya, or the mortal, we mortal humans. And human realm is the only one in which one's choice, good or bad, affect one's future. You know, in Deva realm, in the heaven, you don't have to figure out anything out by yourselves. Everything is there. Swimming pool, whatever you want. Every pleasure things you have there. And in the demigod realm, they have got everything. They want to always fight with gods. That is the thing. They don't get to think about what is good and what is bad. But here in the human realm, we have this choice: what is good and what is bad, what is knowledge and what is evil, what is God and what is demon. We can find everything out here. So you will be rewarded for the better understanding or better doing or good deeds, and you will be punished for the bad deeds. It is the only realm where you can get your choices. What you do will be rewarded likewise. So it is the blend of Deva as well as the hell realm. So we can see hellish life in this world also, as well as you can see the world or life of heaven also in this single human realm. So this is why it is one of the best part where you can think of oneself, or you can enjoy oneself. You can renounce all the bad karmas here. You can get the good karmas, you can get the knowledge, you can be conscious about oneself. So it is one of the best realm where you can get enlightenment, from where you can get enlightenment. As we can see, in the hell, you are not bound to do anything. You will be only punished. Or in the heaven, you have got everything. You don't have mind there to think about yourself too. So human realm is one of the best realm. Here you can see in the picture, you can see in the upper part of the picture, you can see the people farming, riding horses, people in the house doing business, and people who are doing bad karmas also in the lower half, and people being old, people following the Buddha. And here the Buddha is explaining about the how we should live the life, and he is teaching us how to receive the knowledge and how to see the goodness. And let's go with the animal realm, which is the lower realm. Now we will be going on the lower half of the realms, or lower half of the world, where it is considered as the bad half of the world. Out of three lower realms or lower world: animal world, preta world, and hell. Animal world is one of the lower world. Animal birth is seen as the result of past sins. It is we used to hear the stories in our childhood that whenever if we kill some insects, we will be the same insect in our next life. So we don't know if we will be taking the next life or not, but in our life in this world, we can feel as the human life. We just say that my day was like an dog. I had to chase everyone like a horse, or I have to do this like this animal. I have to run away like this animal. These are the kinds of things we depict all these symbols in this world. So we feel that animal world in this life. That is how it tries to explain, I think, in this picture. So there is a world where there are animals. As you can see, everything there are animals. Buddha is trying to say something here. In Abhaya Mudra, he is trying to do not be afraid. As you can see, we are sacrificing animals, we are eating animals, we are doing, animals, maybe animals are those beings who has done the sin. That is why they had to be slaughtered here in this human world, maybe. So they don't have the control over themselves. They cannot do good deeds if they want to do too. You cannot just say to tiger, don't kill animals, because that is a bad karma. You cannot say that, because tiger won't do that. That is obvious. So it is like, the world is like that. It's not like uh, we are not just saying that animals are bad or this, but here I'm explaining it like, we are feeling like animals sometimes. That is our mind. It is not like I'm imposing that animals are bad and this and that, but we feel in our mind like how an animal gets slaughtered. That's how we feel sometimes also. So that is also one of the best things that here it explains in the picture. And let's go to the next realm, that is hungry ghost realm or preta realm. Here you can see in the picture, uh, in the being a preta or being in the hungry ghost realm, it has to be some terrible past that we had, or it must be we might have done something bad. We might have someone killed someone, or we had some violent life in the previous past, or psychologically we have been tormenting others people, or we're doing some bad karmas, so that we might get in the preta life. It is same thing happens to us also. Pretas or in the ghost, they are always cravings for something. They want everything to themselves. And we hear different stories about ghosts in every societies that we can see. So that is how in the picture we can see that they have very small neck and they have very big stomach. They won't have to eat a lot, they want to get a lot, they want to grab a lot, but they have very small neck. And from the mouth we can see in the picture they have the fire coming out. Whatever they want to eat, everything gets into fire. If you drink water, it gets to fire, it burns them. So this is how we are feeling sometimes in our life also. We get suffer from violence and sudden death of someone. We get we become like wandering spirits. We feel like we are zombies, as we find in different scriptures in today's world. We feel like zombies. The same zombies are the preta world that we can see. Let's go to the next world. That is the hell realm, or that is the lowest of the realm, where in the hell one is punished for one's evil actions. Buddhist visions of hell, uh, as well as in the Hindus vision of hell, often link particular punishments, like if you have some sins, you will be fried in the hot oil, or you will be burnt alive, you will be you know uh, pierced with different swords. It's kind of all the treacherous or scary things, so that we could understand what hell is. No, we don't know if there is a real hell or not, but in our life sometimes we say, I had a hell of a day. So that explains us that sometimes we have these kind of experience in our life too. So that is what we call hell realm. And the time is not with us. Let's go on a little bit faster. The next one, the next circle or the next cycle out in this picture is the 12 links of conditionality or dependent originations. And here in this cycle, we have 12 pictures or 12 symbols that depicts a lot of things in our life, whatever happens in our lives, or the connections between the things and how we deal with everything, and what are the dealings, everything we have. So here, the theory that everything arises and ceases to be due to certain cause and condition is independent originations. That everything arises due to some conditions, like just a seedling, it grows because of the conditions of soil, water, sunlight, nutritions, and the good care, watering them. How we nurture them, likewise it gets grown. The same thing happens to the human life also. It is connected with everything. Like there are 12 elements of dependent originations, as the soil in which seed it comes to life and it grows up, and later on it dies, it gives the fruit. Somehow everything is connected within each other. Like I'm sitting here, I'm here sitting on the bench. If I'm sitting in the bench, the bench has to be coming, has to come. The condition of the bench to be here is from the trees. The trees, the condition of trees to be there to become alive has to be the condition of the air, water, everything, sunlight and everything. So all these elements that come together and link with each other. So this is why awareness and our habits in our life and previous life come together. It builds up our awareness, it builds up our consciousness, it builds up our connection with each other. So that is why awareness, meditation and reflections are critical in order to build our wisdom, gain or ignorance abundant. Okay, so here let's go with the first picture, first depiction here, what it explains. As you can see in the picture, the first part of the 12 links is the ignorance. Ignorance comes from, as we know, every suffering comes from the ignorance. So here, as you can see, there is a blind woman walking with a stick, and she's old, and she wants to go to different places. She wished to go here and there, visit a lot of places, but because of the loss of vision, aging, and dangers of falling around, it is really hard for her to go to anywhere else. So she cannot go everywhere. Likewise, we are confused about our karma and its results. We don't know if we did this, this will be this, its outcome will be this. We don't know about it. So all these karmas, all these negative and positive karmas, or the virtues and misconceptions and miserable forms, all this, they carry us to different realms. They carry us to different parts of the world, different world, like Preta world, heaven world, or hell world, or human world. We don't understand it ourselves. Either we don't understand it ourselves, or we cannot, just have the faith in the true knowledge that we have. So it connects to the next part, the karma formation or the samskaras. Out of ignorance, we tend to do a lot of things. Like a child, he never knows what to do. He never knows that fire is hot. Out of ignorance, he goes out of the beautiful fire. When he sees the red burning fire, he wants to go and catch it. He wants to touch it. Like in mythological story, the Hanumana, when he was hungry, he went to sun and ate the sun because he thought that it was the chapati, good, very good fruit, or the very good, nice chapati or something like that. So out of ignorance, we tend to do a lot of things that are good or bad. We don't know it yet. So the ignorance brings us karma. We don't know what the karma is. Here in this picture, we can see that there is a potter who is making the potteries, and we can see different sizes of potteries. We don't know what kind of karma we will be doing. So when there is karma, it starts to bring the consciousness. And like a monkey scampering across the rooftop, we are connecting to something. Like we have something in our hand, it connects with us. We see someone, it connects with us. Everything what we do, it connects with us. As the contaminated principle consciousness, which holds all the latent karmic propensities or imprints, cannot fix in one object or observation, or keep jumping from here and there. We keep jumping from one world to another world, one place to another place. Our fickle mind jumps like monkey's mind. Here in this picture, like in the picture, as you can see, the monkey leaps thoughtlessly from one thing to another, easily tempted and distracted by sensations. We get distracted by the sensations. Our energy pulls from, towards ourselves also, too far away from ourselves also, towards dharma or towards knowledge also, out of the knowledge also. So this is how the consciousness builds up. And the next, with that consciousness, now the name and form becomes. Here in the picture, we can see two men in the boat. They are going somewhere. Just like a boat serves as the medium or the basis for carrying passenger from one place to the one bank to the river to the another bank. Likewise, the fourth link dependent arising name and form. It becomes name and form. Also serves as the basis for the consciousness. Now, the form, it holds the consciousness. So this is how this life and next life, we are now holding the consciousness within the name, within the form. And it serves the name, the form, it serves as the container to hold the consciousness. Now, the next part, we get, whenever we have the form, then we get the senses. Now, it builds up the senses that we have. Whatever we have now, like we have 6 senses that we can get, like we speak, we try to speak everything. We try to express everything through the words. You know, we have eyes, we have ears, we have skins, we sense, we have mind, which roams here and there. So, you know, there is a picture of house here, and normally in the house, it is not shown quite clearly. There are 5 windows and a door, or 6 windows with a door, empty house. So the inhabited house symbolizes the 6 sensory powers, or 6 senses, which are based of consciousness that have already come into existence. Now, all this sense, 6 sense, drive us from here and there. Now, we are not the being that are driven by the dharma or knowledge or the consciousness. We are driven by the senses now. No, likewise, the house, which is built, and you know, there is no residence out there. You know, everything is connected with the senses. Now we will see through our senses only. Like we see someone, we have perception of someone, then that is of the sense. So that is how the senses build up. And out of senses, we have now contact. To show the contact between the people, between the objects and the person, between the objects, there is a picture of people, you know, embracing each other. So when the sense organs begin to function, there is the contact of the objects. You know, when I have sense, I want to find something. When I have eyes, I start looking at the objects. I start, you know, judging the objects. When I have ears, I start listening to the sounds. It is like the consciousness, it becomes, you know, we go on to contact. We try to go on contact. We need contacts with every object, whatever sense we get. So we can also see that in the system, a baby is in the warm blank slate. You know, it is the completing in, there is a, you know, picture, it explains us about the contact where female and male conceiving a child. So in this way, we here it expresses the contact between every beings, every materials, every objects, how everything is connected to each other. So after, when we have senses, we tried, like skin, we want to touch someone, we want to touch something, we want to see something. When we have eye, we have to see something. We want to, you know, look at it, you know, gaze upon it, and we have to hear it. You know, when you try to see a movie or watch a movie, you don't want a movie to be played in the mute form. You know, we want, when we have sense, we want contact. So that is how the contact get built up. So out of contact, now we get feeling, we get sensations. Like, you know, like dependent origination, it explains the 7th link with the figure of a human putting arrow in his eyes. And now when someone has an arrow stuck in their eye, they will be not able to think or notice others due to so much pain and suffering. You know, out of senses, when we start looking from the senses, we start contacting with every object, we forget everything. We are driven by the contact. We are driven by the senses. We don't see the truth. We don't see the dharma. We don't see the knowledge. We don't see the real truth. Likewise, during this link, feeling we experience strong senses of pain or strong senses of pleasures or intensity of our feelings, aspiring for happiness. We grab everything for the happiness. We try to get happiness. We don't know it yet. If it is happiness or not, we don't know it yet. But out of contact, we start searching for something. So that is how here in this picture, it is explaining like one person putting an arrow in the eyes. So here, it explains of how out of contact there is sensations, there is feeling. Either it is pleasurable or it is, really painful. There gives the sensations. Let's go to the next one. When you get the taste of something, when you get the sensations of something, now you start craving for it. Like, the 8 of out of 12, it starts, man, here in the picture you can see the man drinking. In different pictures we have different depictions in different Thangka paintings, but here in this picture we can see that there is a person who is drinking something, or in Tibetan traditional beer, or chang we call it in Nepali and Tibetan language. So he's drinking. So there is no satisfaction for drinkers to quench the thirst. We cannot quench the thirst out of drinking. We have already got contact. We have got the sensations now. We have got the taste. Now we crave for it. We want that. We want everything, So the pleasure, either it is pleasure or either it is pain, we want that. So that is the sensations that we get out of that contact. So out of that sensation, the craving and attachment nourishes the karmic desires. The desires, karmic tendencies accumulated in the past also increase our desires. It gives desires to everyone. So that is how we never get satisfied with that craving, with that thirst. Like a drunkard, he starts drinking, and you can ask every drunkard, they never get tired of drinking everywhere. So what happens when there is this much of craving? So out of craving, then we go to the clinging or grasping, or we go to grasp everything. We want everything. Here in the picture, here is the picture of one person catching up the fruits from the trees, collecting everything to his basket. That explains us about the how we, grab everything. How we want everything. We have craving. Like I have a, let's say I want to, I have a phone, let's say an Apple iPhone, and I have used it. Now next iPhone comes, and I want that one too. The next iPhone comes, next iPhone launches, I want that one too. Apple launches another iPod or different other gadgets, I want that too. We start clinging to it. We start finding happiness inside that, happiness inside everything. Like in the man plucking the fruits from the tree, when this degree of attachment arises, the yearning for the fruit leads, you want more and more without ever finding contentment. Then whilst eating one fruit, we try to grab after more and more and more and more. And this karma results into being. Now you become you become that craving, you become that existence, you become that worldly existence now. So, like as I told you, for the drunkard, if person starts drinking, he tastes it, that is craving. When he get into it, he start craving it, he start gasping everything towards him, then he becomes a drunkard. He becomes, now it is the term of becoming. Now you exist as a drunkard, or you exist as a fellow. Like when I start, let's say a person starts playing football. Now he starts playing football, he tastes the football, and later on he gets to the being a player. Now he wants that sensation, the adrenaline rush, everything. He goes on playing and playing, he starts craving everything, and later on he becomes the game itself, he becomes the player. So that is the existence that we can find it here. So out of contact, now we have become a existence. So what happens after the existence? Now existence, out of existence, there is no turning back. You are born, you got the new life. Now There is no turning back. You cannot go back and let's say, I will just stop craving everything. It's not likewise. Now it is the wheel has already turned. You have already become. Now you are reborn. You are already gone birth. There is a becoming. The 11th link of dependent arising is the birth, represented by the mother delivering the baby, as you can see in the picture. So when a baby comes out of the womb, our primary consciousness is separated from the old body, and after death migrates to the intermediate state. Then the consciousness starts. Now, again, the same cycle starts again. You cannot go back to the craving, or you cannot go back to the sensations, or you cannot go back to the action now. So out of the birth, when you are born, then there has to be death. There has to be old age and death. So this is how we are connected with each other. We are circling in a cycle. The last, everywhere, the end of everything is always a death. As we can see, let's not just say the end of everything, but we can depict in the symbolical form that here in this picture, we can see that a man is carrying a dead body on his back. And here it explains about how the death comes to a human body or mortal beings. So all these connections it is the major dependent theory that if we start from unconsciousness or the ignorance, and we go on circulating in that wheel. We cannot get out of that wheel unless we have here, as you can see the picture, the first two picture here, ignorance, and the next one is making pottery. Here, these are the past cause. You cannot take control out to it. It is the past cause. Whenever you do, out of ignorance, you do the karma. Out of that karma, you don't know what karma you did. Likewise, you will have to face the effects. So we are facing the present effects, like we are being like a monkey. We have our consciousness, we have our senses, we act according to the senses. We started getting the contact with everything, objects, animals, beings, males, females, and humans, everything we started getting the contacts. Out of that contact, we get the feeling. We get the sensations now. Like, as I had started watching the football, I got the taste of football. Watching football, I taste the taste of playing football. Now, I cannot go back. It is the present. Not knowingly, ignorantly, I started the football. Now, it is my present. Likewise, unknowingly, ignorantly, we have done a lot of things, bad karma, good karma. Now, this is the effects that we are facing in the present. But we can change the future. So, present cause. Here for the present cause, we have this after feeling. Now we can change ourselves. We can stop craving. We can stop grasping everything towards us. We can stop ourselves, driving out of our senses. We can stop everything like that. And we will be enlightened. We will be enlightened. We will be getting out of this cycle. In the future, if we don't do like that, if we go on in present also, if we go on with our senses, if we go on with our craving, if we go on with our pleasure and pains and everything, it is inevitable that we will be born like that. When we are born like that, it is inevitable that we will die one day. So it is up to us to get away from these 12 circular areas, or to get inside, to stay inside, roaming here and there, unless we are tired, unless we get ourselves knowledge about dharma or knowledge about the truth, and then we will be getting out of the part, out of this cycle. And out of that circle, out of that cycle, we can see Lord of Death, Yama, and he is considered as the Mara or the demon, and he is clutching the cycle with his tooth and arms, so he cannot get out of Yama. And so it is not possible that unless you understand the knowledge, inner truth, you won't be able to get out of this cycle. So you will have to stop craving. You will have to stop driving yourself out of sensations, out of senses. You will have to get the core knowledge. You shouldn't be ignorant. You shouldn't try to make yourself ignorant by yourselves. Like, you cannot say that in the court or in the police station. You cannot just say that I didn't know that after killing a human beings or something like that. It is already done. You cannot do anything about it. So Yamai is like that. He won't let you go out of that circle. So on the left corner you will see, right corner you will see Siddhartha Gautam or Gautam Buddha or Bodhisattva, the enlightened person. Here he is showing us something. He's showing on the other hand, which explains that on the other hand there will be the moon or something enlightened person. He says that if you want to get out of this ring or out of this cycle, you will have to get enlightened. You will have to understand the knowledge, true knowledge. That is how you get out of this cycle. So I think this is it. We don't have much of the time also. I would like to finish my presentation here. Sorry for the question and answers, because I'm very sad that I cannot answer all your questions. We have next sessions coming in a few minutes. So I would like to say goodbye with all of you. I'll give you my email in the chat box. If you have any questions, if you want something from me, I will try to satisfy your thirst or quench your thirst. Thank you for everyone. That is my session. Namaste.